Recording is in progress. That means we should start. Okay. All right. It's 6 o'clock. Let's call the meeting to order. So, all right, friends in the audience, we're going to call the meeting to order. I totally just got called by Jared to start the meeting. So here we go. Call to order at 6:01 p.m. First item on the agenda is roll call.
Jack Heineman.
Here.
Aaron Moran.
Here.
Chris Zellner.
Here.
Kristen Runge.
Here.
Sam Kaufman.
Here.
Teresa Hansen.
Here.
Nyla Fry.
Here. All right, next item on the agenda is confirmation of open meeting compliance.
I confirm this meeting was properly noticed pursuant to Wisconsin State Statute and open meeting law.
All right. And next up is public comment. If you have anything you'd like to say in public comment, there is a form you fill out and you can hand to Carla. We have 3 minutes for public comment. There are 2 items that are on the agenda later for a public hearing. You can save your public comments for public hearing for those items so that they're officially entered in that record. Anyone have public comments?
We do. We have George Evans at 5903 Easy Street.
All right.
Waunakee.
All right. You can come up to the podium and press the button when it's green. You're free to go. Yep. Is it turning green?
Oh, okay.
There we go.
Mr. Evans, are you here for the heyday
I
item?
am, yes.
Okay,
ma'am.
that would be a public hearing item. Do you want to speak at the time of public hearing?
Can I speak now on it or? No,
Sure. Yeah.
wait.
Yeah, or wait,
Saying
what
no.
do you prefer, Brian? Is there a rule?
So the public comment, if you speak at the public hearing, your comments actually go into the record based on the Wisconsin
Oh.
statutes. If you speak during public comment on the item, your comments do not go in the public record.
Okay. Well, I think we'll wait then.
All
I
right.
mean, I don't think it really matters too much, but if
All
you
right.
don't mind.
So it goes in the public record.
Yes.
Yeah, you definitely want anytime.
Okay, next
Any-
up is Maria Pat at 1000 Wexford Drive, Waunakee.
Okay, my comment this evening has to do with how very quickly an event occurred, which we kind of talked about and heard about a few weeks ago. And this has to do with Viridian and our lovely Heritage Hill, and how very quickly the Waunakee home has been destroyed and ripped down. It's gone. It will be replaced by something that we need, but we had hoped it would be on another part of that hill. But due to surveying errors, it had to be changed. I don't know whether the plan was to keep the Waunakee home up there and kind of be a balance to the other historic place up there in that area, Schumacher Farm. But I, for one, whenever I come down 19 and see that that home is gone, I'll know there's the true heritage that's gone. And it makes me very sad. Thank you.
Thank you, Maria, for sharing that. All right.
I have no other public comment cards. Is there anybody online that would like to make a comment? Please raise your hand. And seeing none.
All right. All right. Thank you all. We'll move on to consent agenda. Does anybody have anything they would like removed from consent agenda? I'm seeing none, nothing removed. Do we have a motion to approve?
Move approval. Second.
All right. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Next up are reports and announcements. So Board of Review.
That would be me. We met on June 2nd. We had our 2-hour official meeting and there was a few corrections to be made from the prior year. Otherwise, there was no hearings to be done. So it was a pretty efficient meeting.
All right. Parks and Rec.
We had 2 presentations on trail projects, Rip Park and the one in 6 Mile. No action was taken on them. We worked with or heard about the dog park for the Heritage Hills project, which we'll be talking about tonight, I believe. And the fee waiver for park use we'll be discussing a little bit later. That was approved unanimously. Park use and waiver fee for Wannaboom was done. And we considered the 2026 update on the park impact fees, and that was also approved unanimously and recommended to the board.
All right, thank you. Utilities. Is that Jack? Yeah.
Yes, utilities, we did meet and, we talked about, a handful of, items.
That's all right. Did you celebrate Tim Herlitzka's retirement? And
Yes,
hopefully
we
we'll
did.
be able to have him come in front of the full board and recognize him for his outstanding service.
Yes, we
Excellent.
did that as well.
Right.
We discussed a sewer problem,
Okay.
as well.
All right. Thank you, Jack. Police committee.
That's me as well. And at the police committee, we talked about the e-bike and e-scooter ordinance. We were presented with three lenient, moderate, and stricter ordinance. We spent an hour talking about the ordinance, and we decided that we would go with the more strict ordinance. And what we're going to do is revisit it at our next police committee meeting. So if you have comments that you would like to make, please come to the next committee meeting. After that, we would, if everything works out, we would move it to the board.
Okay, great. Thank you.
And the meeting's July 7th at 5:30.
July 7th at 5:30. Okay. Public Works.
Everything we talked about was just approved on the consent agenda.
All right, excellent. Plan Commission met and we had a long and productive discussion about the comprehensive plan phase 2 planning and a review of the survey results and some questions that we had for our consultant that they're going to come back with answers to us on slicing and dicing some of the data, but a really nice discussion there. We discussed and took action on the preliminary plat and rezoning for the Hayday subdivision at North Madison Street and Easy Street, which we'll see today. And there was no joint plan commission meeting, so no report on that end. So Senior Services Committee.
Both of us board members on that committee were unable to attend.
Okay. Joint Plan Commission, as I said, no report there. Waunakee.
We met, fairly lengthy meeting. One of the things I can report is that the military portions of this with the flyovers and things has been the most difficult thing for us to take care of this year with our military forces being scattered. So getting them pinned down to times and things like that was a challenge. We were at 2 and 2:15 and now we're at 2:15, or I'm sorry, 2:30 for the Blackhawks and 5:30 for the F-35 flyover. So those were done. Then we had a map discussion that we went through from a safety standpoint within the park to make sure everything is flowing very smoothly throughout the park. Biggest things to note are carts and where the carts are going to be permitted to be moving things during the day away from all the people, mostly on the exterior of the park, not in where the people are. And then lastly, some good piece of information that I received Sunday. So this hasn't gone before the committees, but I'll share it with all of you, and I have some for public too if you want. We were ranked again in the top 17 places for the 4th of July in the country by US News and World Report. So the first year wasn't a fluke apparently, and that we got it in the second year as well.
Number 6.
Well, they put it in a grouping by different spots within the country. So in the Midwest, we just happen to fall in there with Philadelphia right there.
Awesome.
Otherwise, it was the East Coast, as you'll see as you go through.
That's awesome. All right. Very cool.
We don't want to talk about US News, tell them that there's actually Waunakee and not Madison, Wisconsin.
Well, it does say Madison in there, but they
That's
do,
true.
you can see what it says. I mean, it says, it recognizes Wannaboom.
Yeah.
So, and Waunakee.
It does. It says Madison, but it says Village of Waunakee in the write-up. So
Why would
we
we
Right.
have to call it Wanna?
I don't know. Yeah. All right. Community Development Authority did not meet this month. Tourism Commission Committee.
We don't have enough people yet.
All right. Oh, that's right. We have to appoint a
We have
committee.
to-
Yeah. EMS Commission.
Meeting was canceled since I was the only one on the committee with power.
Oh, wow.
Meaning actual power.
Yes. I love it. I love it. Other committees, boards, commissions, or other announcements? All right. Wannaboom, July 4th, be there, be square.
And we still can use volunteers for the
Yeah.
event.
It's a lot of fun to volunteer at the event. It's as much.
Nothing
fun
is
to
physical
volunteer-
work.
Yeah.
Most of it is basically monitoring things.
Yeah.
That's it. So
Yeah.
if you have time and an opportunity, please stop up or get online at www.wannaboom.com, and there's spots there to fill.
Excellent. Excellent. All right. The next thing is public hearing, a public hearing and discussion and take action on a preliminary plat rezone from A1 to planned unit development, general development plan, and development agreement for Heyday subdivisions at North Madison and Easy Street. And this is to you, Lauren, first, correct?
All right. So this is the Heyday project. It's been to Plan Commission and Village Board a couple times for various discussions. So I think all are pretty, aware of this project, but I do, for the audience as well, want to go over it and what they're proposing. So this is a project proposed at the northeast corner of North Madison Street and Easy Street. It's a proposed housing subdivision that would include 114 single-story rental homes, 36 two-story rental townhomes, and 50 single-family lots. The master plan for the site is on the screen here. You can see on the right-hand side, the single-family lots, that's on the southern portion of the proposed project. And then to the north are the rental homes and townhomes. So today we have several items that we're looking at. The first one is the preliminary plat. So this is kind of outlining where the lots are going on the site as well as the outlots. So there's lots 1 through 50 are the single family lots that I just mentioned. They're on the right side. And then lot 51 is just one large private lot that will encompass all of the rental units. There's also several outlots. Outlot 1 on the bottom right corner is for stormwater purposes. There's a small outlot kind of in the middle bottom that is for a sanitary lift station. And then outlot 3 within the single family lot area is a 0.59 acre public park that would be dedicated to the village. The plat also includes 3 public roads that go through the single family lot area. And then there are easements that run along all of the private roads in the rental development, as well as the utilities that run through the development. So the remaining staff comments on the preliminary plat, we've gone through several tech staff reviews. It's gone to Plan Commission. We've worked very closely with Heyday to work through a lot of items. We have just 2 remaining items. One is that we'd like to see the clustered mailboxes for the single family lots be shown in an outlot. It's currently shown on a little easement in the public park. And then the other item is that the plat itself shows a 7-foot wide right-of-way. I'll actually go back. Right-of-way that runs through this private lot on North Madison Street. And we would just like to see a note added there that a separate easement will be needed for that area. So for the general development plan, so Heyday is requesting a rezone from A1, so agricultural, to PUD, planned unit district. And so for a PUD, we require a general development plan. This outlines what the zoning district guidelines will be for that zoning district. And generally how that works is they adopt a current zoning district and then tell us how they're going to modify it. So in this case, they're adopting R2, single family residential district, but they want to make the proposed changes to that district, one being that permitted uses would be modified to allow for single family attached dwellings up to 6 units per structure. So that would be the rental properties that would be a permitted use. The minimum lot area would be reduced from 8,500 square feet to 7,000 square feet. And then the minimum lot width would be reduced from 70 feet to 57 feet. The GDP also outlines other items related to the development of this subdivision, and I just wanted to go over a few of them here. One is green space and parkland, because that's been kind of a big discussion, ongoing discussion with this project. So the private area does include 59% green space as well as a trail that goes around the stormwater area in the private rental area, as well as for public parkland. They have, as I mentioned earlier, a 0.59 acre public park. And then they would be required to pay a prorated in lieu of parkland fee, which we estimate to be around $310,000. Additionally, this project would owe park impact fees, and that is a fee that's charged to each dwelling unit for the project, and that fee would be $521,847. And those funds would be used to improve that public park in the single-family lot area. The GDP also talks about pedestrian connectivity, which is another kind of important piece of this project. As I mentioned, there's the private trail that goes around the stormwater area. They have 10-foot multi-use paths that run the blue area here that runs along North Madison and Easy Street. There's sidewalks throughout the development, and they are also proposing to add a signalized pedestrian crossing across Easy Street at North Madison to make it easier for people to get from this development south to Northridge and other areas in Waunakee. So the remaining staff comments on the GDP, this is the first one is really an item that was brought up at the last village board meeting on this. There's a request to add sidewalks on both sides of the private roads in the development. The developers is willing to do that. They found a way to do that by narrowing the private roads to 27 feet. With no parking, they were able to demonstrate that our longest fire ladder truck can traverse those turns there. And so their engineer provided information on that, and our engineer reviewed it and said that that would work. Additionally, some other comments on the GDP, one being that we'd like to see the private trail connection align with the sidewalk and when it crosses the street to the sidewalk. And then there are also a few additional kind of minor comments on the GDP that are highlighted in the planning memo I included in the packet. We also intended to have a development agreement approved as part of this kind of package today. However, staff and Hayday are still working through a few remaining items on that. And so we are actually hoping that the village board would consider approving the preliminary plat and the rezoning with the GDP today, and it would be conditioned upon approval of the DA. So that could give staff a little bit more time to work through those few remaining items that need to be worked through. So there is a draft of the DA in your packet, and that is pretty close to what it will be, but we still just have a couple items we want to talk through. So with that, staff recommend approving the preliminary plat, rezoning, and GDP subject to resolution of remaining staff comments and approval of a development agreement. And next steps, if all of this is approved, is that a specific implementation plan would come to Plan Commission, as well as a final plat, and then the final plat and the development agreement would come to Village Board.
All right. So oftentimes we go straight to public comment. Other times the developers like to speak first. Would you guys like to speak first? And then we'll go to public comment? Okay. All right. You can have you. There we go.
All right, so thank you. My name is Anthony Rodriguez. I'm the Director of Development for Hayday. Address is 2667 Connolly Lane, West Dundee, Illinois. So first and foremost, just thank you for your consideration tonight. This is going on just shy of about a year of collaborative efforts between ourselves, village staff, the plan commission, and as well village board. And there's been a lot of good feedback, which we've taken and incorporated into our site plan, as you'll see and as you've heard. So we just think this is on a good platform now to move this project forward. And with that, we'll kind of walk through some of what we heard and our response. So really 3 true meetings over the last 60 days. And just kind of start with the April 13th Plan Commission meeting, just kind of walk through what we heard and how we responded. So Pocket Park, that was kind of one of the main concerns, that there wasn't a pocket park for this development. So, as stated, we've added a approximately 0.6 acre pocket park dedicated as Outlot 3. And then obviously we're paying the balance of the fees in lieu. The northern wetland parcel, so the northern unannexed parcel, has been a topic of conversation. So Heyday has agreed at no cost to the village to convey that land to the north. Publicly accessible named walking trail. So there was conversation between whether this would be private and public. So we have agreed to make this 0.63 mile we'll call it crushed gravel path, as far as around the private development will be public accessible. The pedestrian crossing signal at North Madison Street. So we are, and this is being put into the development agreement at our costs. We will put in the enhancements at Easy Street for public safety as you kind of traverse to the south to the other public park. So from the June 1st village board meeting, sidewalk on both sides of the drive. So in the plan, I will show you, it's the architectural plan that hasn't been incorporated yet, but we have agreed as far as the private development goes that sidewalks will be on both sides. The centralized mailbox locations. So for our Heyday development, standard is that they're always at the leasing office in a clustered setting. So that is, that's how it will be for that. And then obviously the HOA will maintain the mailbox for the single family lots, which will be designated on its own outlot. So utility oversizing, serving the broader growth corridor. So this is just kind of, information going into the development agreement as far as a reimbursement for our commitment to bringing the utilities to this site and for the future growth to the north. So June 8th Plan Commission meeting. So we actually, we brought in our engineer today. I know there were some questions on stormwater concerns, so we'll have him address some of that. But as far as what we heard at the June 8th Plan Commission meeting just last week, just to confirm that our lowest first floor units will sit about approximately 2.73 to 2.82 above the 5-year or 500-year floodplain. Some of the concerns about storms, was brought up. So we have confirmed that, per our drawings, that we're meeting or exceeding what we've committed as far as anchors at the sill plates and continuous loads that will hold at least, the standard for 115 mile an hour wind is kind of the civil engineering standard. So it does adhere to that. The Madison Street Southwest culvert, this was a concern brought up by one of the commissioners. Heyday is willing to, it hasn't really been formalized or anything, but Heyday is willing to work. There was a culvert, an existing culvert that probably needed to be replaced. That wasn't part of our drawings. So willing to look at that. And then I know Mr. Evans is here tonight, continuing to work with him. It's been great to work with. And, as far as the berming and landscaping that we want to assist with putting, so there's some screening and buffer between his home and the new development, we'll continue to work with him on. And then last but not least, attainability. Attainability was brought up as far as kind of the definition of that, right? So we've kind of incorporated in this presentation just, what we were looking at and what, the word attainable means from our perspective. So I'll get to that because I know that was one topic. So just quickly, like I said, this is kind of redundant, but by the numbers, right? So in lieu of, our 0.6 acres that were, or 0.59 that we're approximately dedicating, there's another 310 of a fee in lieu. The park impact fees, 350,000 on top of the single family for sale lots. It's just another 171,000. The northern unannexed parcel to the north of this development, approximately 59% green space. The urbanization of North Madison Street and Easy Street on the frontage of our property, 20.6 acres of wetlands preserved. And then, as I said, with the utilities, the lift station, that's getting upsized for approximately 485 acres of future growth. Kind of walk through this at the beginning, just to touch on a few things. Like I said, this is just shy of a year now. Annexation was approved 6-0 in January. The Plan Commission recommended last week by a vote of, I think, 6-1 to Village Board tonight. So just to touch on the comprehensive plan alignment again, the site is designated as community residential. So we are fitting within that. Again, diverse housing goals. So 3 housing types across the rental and for sale units, multiple price points, just distinguished, neighborhood settings from the for sale and the single family rentals. Inclusive design. So 114 of the units will be no step entry, which is huge for, baby boomers looking to downsize, or anybody with disabilities. And then how we're integrating, we have the rental and the for sale component, right? Diversification of housing types. And then for safe and distinctive, right? Master plan community, 10-foot multi-use paths, connections to, trail systems that we're creating, connectivity, garden courtyards. So a true neighborhood feel. So just touch on some of the community facilities and transportation. So again, new lift station size for approximately 515 total acres. The sanitary and water mains, as far as the utilities goes, oversized for 485 acres, 2,000 linear feet of sanitary force main, water main extension loops, urbanization of Madison and Easy. The public streets, as far as the single family goes, will all be 66-foot right-of-ways. The 10-foot multi-use pass, the sidewalks through, adding sidewalks to both sides of our private development to continue to create that connectivity. And then, again, with the traffic study, they didn't warrant any improvements as far as outside of what we're doing, right? For North Madison or Easy Street. And then some of the natural resources and stormwater, I'll let our civil engineer kind of address that. So here's the site plan. We can touch on it a little bit as we come back if there's any questions. I think Lauren did a pretty good job because I've seen it before. Like I said, this doesn't illustrate the sidewalks on both sides of the private development, but it is something that will be incorporated. Again, 3 housing types, our single-story cottages, our rental cottages, which would be 114 units, or 2-story townhomes, which will kind of front that main roadway, public roadway, and then the for sale single-family lots. All right, so this was kind of, one of the things we wanted to put together because, the delivery, the word attainable, has come up a few times, and we like to use that, right? Because it does warrant the conversation of what we're delivering and what the existing housing stock, in various municipalities. So specifically, we looked at the last 12 months of home sale prices in Waunakee, which is approximately $507,000. So typically, you're seeing anywhere from a 10% to a 12% down payment. So with all the, burden on top, that trickles down to an all monthly in cost of approximately $4,500. We've taken our portfolio as far as our unit allocation. So we're approximately anywhere from, $2,800 to $2,900 as far as a heyday rental unit goes. Excuse me, that's approximately $1,000 and 67, savings when you look at the heyday rent versus home median price costs. So it is attainable, right? That does allow somebody to save for a single family home who wants to eventually purchase in Waunakee. And again, someone downsizing, moving into our home, then opens up the housing stock for another person to come in and purchase in Waunakee. So here's our, product and design. A lot of this will be defined and refined at the SIP stage, but a lot of this has already taken into account comments over the last 12 months, which has been incorporated into our plans. Again, with the open space connectivity. So again, walking past approximately 59% on the private development, 10-foot multi-use paths. Those will all be asphalt, sidewalks on both sides of the street, dedication of the 60-foot right away. So, and with that, I'll ask Brian Arcan, our civil engineer, to come up and just kind of briefly touch on some of the utilities. You're good. Yeah.
I'm Brian Arcand with Snyder and Associates, civil engineer for the project. For the utility plan, I guess the main items I want to point out are that all of the sanitary, sewer and water main throughout the project in both the Heyday site and the single family homes will be public. And the storm sewer through the single family lots would also be public. Storm sewer on the Heyday lots will be private. Main items to point out are here and here across from Chloe and Jordan, to the west side of Madison, there will be 8-inch water main, stubbed out in both directions, actually 10-inch from Jordan, to the west side of Madison for future development, as well as, 8-inch sanitary sewer from Jordan west across Madison. And there'll also be a 10-inch water main and 8-inch sanitary sewer on Jordan to the east parcel here, and then to kind of the northeast portion of the project along the east side of the wet pond, there will be 8-inch water main and 10-inch sanitary sewer, all stubbed out for future development around the parcels. And part of that will be the lift station and the force main to the lift station from Madison, as well as that 10-inch sanitary sewer and 10-inch water main are all oversized, utilizing the 515 acre kind of future development that we pulled from the 2018 sanitary sewer comprehensive plan that Strand and Associates did for the village. So that's kind of the basis for what the future, when we talk future developable area, is based off of this, and that's what the reimbursement agreement will be based off of as well. There was some talk at the last village board meeting kind of about stormwater. So we put together a little graphic. The top one here will be the north stormwater basin. It kind of shows. So these are all designed for what we call to safely pass the 500-year storm. And essentially that means the stormwater in the basin will not go over the top of the berm in the 500-year. And there will also be overland routing throughout the site based on the proposed topography to get that water to the basins when in the 500-year storm event, obviously the storm sewers will be over capacity. And this shows the top of berm in the north basin is 935.50 elevation, with the 500-year getting to 935.13. And then the closest first floor elevation, the Heyday products, sit close to 3 feet above what that 500-year will get to in our modeling. Similar in the single family homes, the 500-year event gets to just about a foot below the top of berm. And then the way the single family homes work, even though they'll have basements, the lowest point of each developed lot in the end, the lowest opening elevation we call for the single family home will have to be 2 feet above the lowest point on the lot. So whether it's a walkout or egress windows or anything like that, the final grading plan that'll be approved and stamped by me, the engineer, will call out low opening elevations for each lot that the home builder will have to follow. So that adds an additional 2 feet of buffer from the lot for any water to potentially get into the homes. And just to point out, the stormwater management is designed to meet all state, local, and county ordinances, which is 80% total suspended solids removal, 90% infiltration compared to the pre-development condition, safely passing the 500-year storm, and meeting what we call rate control through the 200-year storm, which again is compared to the post-developed condition compared to the pre-developed condition, you can't increase any runoff off of the site through the 200-year storm. And we are not impacting any of the wetlands besides the portion that'll be filled on the east side of Madison for the multi-use path.
Great. Thanks, Brian. So just to conclude, kind of path forward here. So June 8th, obviously we were at the Plan Commission meeting. So tonight, hopeful for a positive consideration, which then would bring us back in July. We'd submit the final plat, SIP applications, and then that would be reviewed at the Plan Commission meeting in August of this year, with a village board approving hopefully by August 17th, the final plat, which would allow us to start construction sometime around September 1st. So. Thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, I think we are, unless Lauren, you have anything else, I think we're ready to open our public hearing. So we will open the public hearing at 6:36 p.m. Does anybody have a comment they would like to make, Carla?
We have two forms, George Evans at 5903 Easy Street in Westport. We'll go ahead and go right up to that.
Hi, George and Karen Evans, 5903 Easy Street. We're directly across from Heyday. We're not against development. We're not against this development. There's just some aspects of this we didn't care for, but I think with Josh last week and what I saw today, maybe those are being alleviated. So I appreciate that very much. The screening that's going to be provided, I think it'll probably take care of some of the traffic mitigation and all that we're concerned with. And my second concern with the screening for the houses in the back on the other side of that pathway. The pathway I just saw last time, so I don't know why there's a 10-foot pathway there, but I was just concerned that there was room to do the screening with that there. So I was told, Lauren told me that there would be. I didn't see on this site plan the 4 shade trees that I saw before, but I assume that's just, a drawing that you just put in there, I hope. So, that's pretty much our concern right now, I would say. And I think that with working with you, I had a lot more things to say last time, but I think a lot of that has been alleviated now. So, I think I'll leave it at that. Is there anything you think I should add, Karen? Yeah, should remind you too, there's a time. But anyways, Easy Street, when it was rebuilt in 2008, it had a 3-foot bike path on each side.
Yeah.
And it was lined at the time, but when they chip sealed it, they never repainted it. So people use that often, and it seems nice and wide and easy to use, but with a 10-foot path, I don't know if you need that and the 3-foot bike path. If you can kind of combine some of that, and that would give me more room for screening too, or Anthony more room for screening. So, I think if you would consider that as well at some point, I would appreciate it.
All right.
That's all I have to say. Thank you very much.
Thanks, George. We appreciate the time.
And we have no other comments.
All right, is anyone online that would like to make a comment? If you are, raise your hand. All right, no one has raised their hand, so we will close the public hearing at 6:38 p.m. And with that, we'll open it up to the board for comments or questions. Would anybody like to go first? No one's being so bold. So I'll call on people. Nyla, do you have any comments?
It's been a long time that we've been working on this, and I'm glad that Heyday has worked with us as well as they have. And the wetland, maintaining those is important for the entire community. And I'm glad you answered the questions pertaining to storm water and the buildings not getting flooded, because nobody wants to have everything they have to be in a flood. And people don't want to be running, trying to stay away from a flood. Overall, I think the project is good. I'm very happy that we came to a conclusion so that we can have sidewalks on both sides of the streets. And I'm excited to have a different housing types in the village. Thank you.
All right. Jack, do you have any comments?
No, I think they've addressed it. It appears there's water and sewer on both the west side and the north side of the property. And they put the sidewalks in there in the private section. So Those are my comments.
All right. Teresa.
Everything looks good.
All right. Aaron.
All right. Yeah, this has definitely been a long time working with everyone, and I remain just as excited as the first time we saw this project of the mix of housing, and I think it's definitely a value add for our community. I'm thrilled that the sidewalks are going to fit on both sides of the private development. I think that really gives the universal design homes in this neighborhood they deserve sidewalks on both sides. We deserve to keep that feature and safety, especially as we grow. And if there is growth to the north, then we're shuffling people downtown safer if they choose to come through here. I'm excited that that trail is 0.63 because that's exactly a kilometer. And so when you're training for things, it makes things a little easier. And I think the pocket park is a really needed amenity. That's a good size, and just I think the overall, we have options for people very early in life or those with any years of life, and I just think it's a good shuffling of the housing stock in Waunakee. I'm glad that we've been able to work with the neighbors and that you guys have had a positive experience. The Evans I spent a lot of time growing up in their backyard being babysat. So it's a really special part of the community. And I think the storm level issues we've seen in 6 Mile and the Berlin neighborhood just, keep us wanting to be cognizant of all that stuff with this area. So yeah, it's weird to see things grow and change sometimes, but I think it'll be, as it gets completed and there's people living there and doing their thing, it'll be a really good addition and area of our community. So thank you all for your work.
Thanks, Aaron. Sam.
I asked my questions at the Plan Commission. I think we're in a good place. I also will add, I don't think I've seen a developer come in here with a better final presentation than you have in terms of laying out what we've provided and so forth. So take that to the next community you go to. And I don't think you're going to have any trouble renting any of the units. I've heard from many people in my neighborhood who are eager to rent one.
All right. Chris.
I think I've shared most of my comments with you. Some of my apprehensions to the project. Probably one of my biggest ones is being a lifelong person here. I feel like this is not necessarily as Waunakee-ish as it is Chicago-ish. It's very tight. We've compacted as much as we could in. You had certain amounts of land to work with, and so you've done a nice job with that. And generally, we have parks. That's kind of one of the things Waunakee is known for, is having wonderful parks. And so I will tell you that I was a little turned off when one of your comments was that we were going to use the park next to us. I didn't like that. But with the in lieu of funds, that makes me feel a little bit better about it, that those things are going to be there. And you have addressed the neighbor, really the one neighbor that came forward to us, and you've addressed their concerns for us, made it easier for us with them. So hopefully that will come through and bear fruit, that they'll be happy with the result, and make sure you let us know if you're not, as you go through with this. But I think we're in a better place than we were previously.
Yeah, it's been a lot of back and forth and collaboration on this. I appreciate the time you guys have put into this. It looks a lot different than the very first plan, and I think it's closer to what we have had as a community, although there are some distinct differences between this neighborhood and some of our other neighborhoods. I am very happy that you addressed George and Karen's concern as lifetime residents or longtime residents of Waunakee. And as you said, Aaron, a very kind of important house to a lot of people, and a place where we've spent some time. So I'm pleased for all of that. I'm glad that you're here tonight, and I see Jack has his hand up.
Yeah, just, again, from the utilities committee, I want to make sure that we all don't have crystal balls to say, hey, am I going to keep this property for the next 10 years, 20 years, 50 years? But what we have to do is make sure that in the development agreement, or we have some language that says if these do get sold, they are, you have to split the utilities.
Yeah.
Because that could create a major problem if we don't if we don't do that.
And you're referring now to the townhomes primarily in Lauren? Yeah,
Where they have multi,
yeah.
you know, one lateral going into multi-units, wherever
Yes,
that
yeah.
is, you know, those have to be split
Mhm.
if they get sold
Yeah.
at either the developer or the
Yeah.
purchasers.
Which eventually if they go
Expense.
condominium. And Lauren, we worked through that at Plan Commission. I'm not
Yep.
actually sure that we talked about it here at the board, though. Would you mind filling us in?
Yep,
Thanks.
so it is noted on the plat itself that that would be the case. And also, state law requires that if they are sold as separate home ownership units, that separate laterals would have to go to each home. If it stays a rental structure or it becomes a condo, they can continue as is, but once that's separated out, then it would be separate laterals.
All right. So other
Lauren,
questions?
this is Josh. Can I chime in real quick on that
Josh,
point?
sure, yes.
Yeah, so we had a discussion with Brian, and Brian, I thought you had told me something different than what was just said. Did I misunderstand you when we talked outside of the last village board meeting about the laterals?
So what we've talked about in the development agreement and what we've confirmed with the Public Service Commission of Wisconsin is, and now we're only focusing on what I'm going to call the landlord tenant aspect of the development. So the non-single family, if it stays landlord tenant, we do not need separate laterals. If it becomes condo and the condo association is effectively the customer of the utility, we do not need separate laterals. If each of the units become owned and it's not condo such that each separate unit is a separate customer, that's when the state code would require the separate laterals. And so effectively what we'll do is we'll hold them to what the state code requires. And we don't have the ability to hold them to anything different than that. But that's what the PSC has said. And so that's what we'll end up doing.
Okay. All right, Josh, is that consistent with what we've been talking
Yes.
about? Okay, great.
Yes, that's absolutely consistent.
Okay, good. All right, any other questions or comments that anyone has? No, seeing none, do we have a motion? Is nobody on the page to make a motion?
Okay.
Actually, I think she has it.
Yep.
Lauren has it up on.
Oh, there we go.
I'll move approval of what is written on that screen.
Second.
All right, any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstain? Motion carries. All right. Thank you, guys.
Maybe just for
Yeah.
those, Kristen, for those who are, if this screen isn't available on the recording or clear to somebody, can you just read the?
Staff recommends approving the motion is to approve the preliminary plat rezoning in GDP, subject to the resolution of remaining staff comments and approval of a development agreement.
Thank you. Appreciate
So,
that.
thank you, Todd. Yeah. All right. I got a little lazy there for a second. All right. With that, thank you, guys. And did you have something you wanted to share?
Last meeting, Brian's, we were developer payday, but you did throw an invite for Thanksgiving.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Turkey, my house. Yeah. You guys bring the stuffing. Okay. So, all right. All right. All right. Great.
Safe travel.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And thanks for being here today. So, all right, away we go. Next item up then is public hearing and discuss and take action to approve the update to park impact fees. And Lauren, is that to you or Mike? Okay. Why do I always think it's Lauren? I'm always so like used to going to Lauren. So there we go.
I'm happy to answer questions too.
Are you happy too, Renee? Thank you.
I don't know what to say.
All right, go ahead.
Good evening. In front of you tonight is the regular update to the village's park impact fees. This is something that's done. Yeah.
We got a party going out there. They're getting Thanksgiving started already.
I heard that.
So, yeah.
So in front of you tonight is the regular update to the village's park impact fees. This has been an annually done by the village board to approve this update based on the numbers that Renee has done a wonderful job to put together. I did double check them, not that I didn't trust her, it was more so that I could learn them. And I have to say that she did a fantastic job of them. So nice job, Renee. The Parks Committee did approve these at our previous meeting on June 3rd. And the resolution is in front of you tonight with the new numbers that are addressed in here. Numbers did increase a little bit from 25 into 26. As we know, things get a little bit more expensive. The one thing to look at is that the village's population grew along with the cost of obviously land and preparation for facilities throughout our parks and open spaces. Any questions about the numbers? Feel free to ask Renee or about the process.
All right. So with it, do we have any questions about either the numbers or the process? Chris? Pardon? Oh, this is a public hearing. Yes, it is. I'm sorry. Thank you for reminding me of that. So excited over the last one that I'm just going to truck through. All right. So let's open the public hearing at 6:51 PM. Do we have anybody who would like to make a comment on the park impact fees, either in person or online?
I have no forms.
No forms. And it appears that we're the only ones online. Are there a couple people? Anyone else online would like to make a comment? Please raise your hand and we'll bring you into the meeting. Seeing no hands raised and no forms turned in, we will close the public hearing at 6:51 PM. With that, now we can have questions. Does anyone have questions or comments on the park impact fees?
I'll just say that we discussed this at Parks Committee and the committee members, I mean, this was a nominal increase and you've seen it go down a little bit, go up a little bit over the last several years, and we felt it was appropriate.
All right, thank you. Any other comments, questions? Nyla?
I'd just like to thank you for you and Bill and all the staff for the wonderful parks space that we have. Thanks.
All right.
I'll move to approve the resolution approving updated park impact fees.
Second.
All right. Jack, you get the second? All right, any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all in favor? Aye. Opposed, abstain, motion carries. Thank you guys for being here tonight and for all the work you're doing. All right, next up, licenses and permits. Discuss and take action on resolution renewing the alcohol beverage retail licenses for BD Rips and the 2026 to 2027 period.
So as you guys might recall, last meeting, we brought all of the annual licenses to you. If they have to have a 15-day waiting period prior to any board action being taken. And so we just got our forms in a little bit later than the 15 days. So we just had to come to you this time for BD Rips. That's the only difference.
All right,
Make the motion to approve.
all right. Do we have a second?
I second.
All right, thank you. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. All right, next up then, item number 1 under business items, discuss and take action on canceling the July 6th village board meeting, and this is probably me. If we do not have anything pressing on July 6th right now, is that correct? No? Pardon? No. Yeah. So seeing that we have nothing pressing on July 6th, I would like to consider canceling the board meeting that night. It's the Monday after the 4th of July. July 4th falls on a Saturday this year. So to just give people, particularly village employees who are able to take the day off, the ability to take the day off without worrying that they're missing something.
Make
Any-
the motion to approve cancellation of July 6th meeting.
I'll second it.
All right, any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. All right, next item, discuss and take action on request from Waunakee Committee to fly the Waunakee flags on village light poles. And Chris?
So as a committee, we're looking at different options for promoting our event. And one of the things that we're trying to stay true to is our Waunakee residents. So putting it in a TV commercial or something like that in the general area would probably bring a significant more amount of people to the event. And so our focus really for what we were wanting to do from advertising is really to advertise it to this village residents. And we felt that having flags on Main Street with the US flag coming down would be a way to do that. So I ran it past Bill. There's no cost because we're going to have donated funds for this. And from a staff perspective, they'll be putting up the same amount of flags as they would have and taking the same amount down. So there's not a real big difference there. It's really just to promote an event that's a village event there.
All right, questions?
I
Todd,
just
go
want to
ahead.
add quick that, you know, we do have a flag policy that we've used for commemorative flags. The flags on the street poles are not addressed and considered as what our policy regulates for commemorative flags. So a decision, any decision you make about this, there is no policy by which to guide your decision making. You just make it clear that that won't relate.
Okay, okay. Does this conflict in some way with the way we've been doing flags on the flag poles? So we have frequently,
the
I mean, not
policy on flag
the
poles-
street lights, I mean, I'm sorry.
Yeah, our flagpole policy says that you can only fly a flag that's been flown within the past 10 years above either the US
Yeah.
or the state capital. And
Okay, but this is different because there's street lights, correct?
which our policy is silent on regulating.
Okay, cool. Just making sure that I
Yep.
understood that correctly. All right, questions, Nyla?
But
My question is, if if this happens, what do we do when other organizations come and ask for the same thing?
I think I'm supposed to answer that one. So I view this very similar to the Waunakee flag that we fly in our parks currently. And this is a Waunakee event and it's Wannaboom. So that's where I would say it's a little different than those coming in from the outside. And then
I'm talking about other Waunakee organizations such as Wanafest, Rotary, Lions. We have many, Girl Scouts, Boy Scouts. We have many Waunakee organizations that could possibly come and say, I'd like this too.
yeah, I agree with you. And I think that's what Todd was getting at with having a policy in place for the future with that. And I think each one of those would be something that we would vote on based on the merits. No?
So I think the key distinction here is, and you have to correct me if I'm wrong, Renee. I mean, like Wannaboom, it's an ad hoc committee that is of the Village of Waunakee.
It's
Oh,
not
it's
ad
not.
hoc. It's a standing.
Oh, it's a standing committee. And like, does the village insurance apply to this activity?
Yes.
Okay, so the way I look at this is more akin to, let's say the library wanted to come to us and they wanted to fly certain things on the light pole. This is different from, while I agree that it promotes Waunakee, it is a Waunakee governmental body that is effectively, essentially you, the village board or the committee is requesting on behalf of the village governmental body to put village flags up. So, because I would not want to do what Nyla just said, because then if we open, and I know, I mean, I would want to avoid the scenario that Nyla raised, where all of a sudden, if we do this, then we have to do it for other organizations that are affiliated with Waunakee, like the Boy Scouts or like the Rotary, because that's going to open the door up, in my opinion, too wide to who would go on the flagpole. This is a governmental decision, I would say, because it's part of the village. And to me, that's the distinction. Doesn't mean you have to do it, but I don't think it's opening the door to those other entities. If we were to allow one of those other entities to do it, then it would open that door, and the door would be open much wider than we want, I think.
So, but so it's essentially like the library comes forward and says, we'd like to put up flags for library week.
We're having a celebration, let's say it's the 50th anniversary of the library and they wanted to put some stuff up on the light poles, then I think that's what this is akin to, as opposed to non-governmental, non-Village of Waunakee governmental entities that do promote Waunakee, like Nyla said. I agree with that, but those are separate from the governmental aspects of this.
Okay. Jack?
I guess the question, the library comes to us and says, we want to promote the Boy Scouts because it's their whatever anniversary, or we want to promote, the Rotary. You can have that governmental body come to this board, and how do we say no to that? So I guess without a policy in place, are we opening up a can of worms and slippery slope?
Well, I would say, I don't think first of all, you don't have to do this if you don't want to. But I think in my mind, there's a clear distinction here between this is a Village of Waunakee governmental entity that is making the request, and it's a Village of Waunakee governmental decision. I do believe that what the example that you just gave is an absolute possibility, but now you essentially would have a Village of Waunakee governmental entity making a request on a on behalf of a non-governmental entity, and that would be where I think you would need a policy. Because now I think it's closer to what the policy that you have right now as it pertains to the flagpoles. To me, the reason why you don't need a policy to make this decision if you want to make it is because it is a request that is being made by a committee of this governmental body. And that's a very important distinction because it is not a third party that is effectively making this request. It's just a subunit of the Village of Waunakee government.
All right, other thoughts? Teresa?
Well, I'm the newbie. So how often do we change the flags? Is it seasonal?
It's the only
I mean, do we do
flag we put up there.
like parades? Do we do flags?
No.
Memorial Day,
Yeah, Memorial Day. We do.
Labor Day,
They go up.
4th of July.
Christmas.
And I do agree with him that it's a government organization. It's not a private organization, so it's a little bit different.
Yeah.
Like a Wannaboom or Wannafest, that's a little bit different than
Yeah.
Boy Scouts and.
Bill, how often do we?
Yeah, right now flags go up for Memorial Day, 4th of July, Flag Day, 4th of July. Waunakee weekend, they go up and for the parade, and then Labor Day and then Veterans Day.
So it wouldn't be any more or less work to put a Wannaboom flag up?
No,
than
it's
a-
just, they're all get put out at the same time.
Okay,
This ain't adding to what we do.
okay, great.
I think we've already put ourselves in this position because we have like the diabetes month lights and we allow Rotary to control the lights at Village Park on the shelter there. I think, I think also we're investing so much of our resources and time in this event. We should promote it and try to get people there. It's the 250th anniversary of our country. So in honor of that, I could see us really extra promoting Wannaboom. I'll move that maybe the motion we just say this year, and then if there are issues for the future, we can work on a policy or see how we want to fold it in.
So are you making the motion?
Yeah, I was just.
So I.
Oh, well,
ahead.
I was gonna ask Chris, just is 2 weeks when they usually go up, or was that like the marketing side of it?
I don't know.
Do they
exactly
usually
when
go
they
up 2 weeks
but
before?
Week before, I mean, or depends when.
Depends when the 4th of July is. I mean,
Okay,
is how we figure
So
out what
the-
day they go up.
okay, just the motion says for 2 weeks prior, so the flags will all go up at once.
Yep.
When the Public Works.
Yeah,
staff can-
if we're putting them up 2 weeks before the 4th, they'll all go up.
They'll all go up on the 4th.
So in light of the fact that you made the motion and we're the 17th best place to go on Wannaboom, we have to let the people know what community they're coming to.
Yeah,
So I think I would second that motion.
they don't think they're going to Madison? Sam, did you have anything to add?
No, I'll just say, I think it'd be good to bring the policy back, because also having in front of me, when we talk about the modifying color of village streetlights, it also notably omits that the lights we could potentially pay for. It
Yeah.
only talks about the flags have to be donated, so I wouldn't want there to be a situation down the line where we ended up paying for the rope lights or something like that. So it'd be good to bring that back.
Okay, so a policy for the light
Nyla's got it.
posts. Yeah, Nyla?
One other comment. I believe that the Lions Club does the labor for the rope lights. Is that correct? So there is a little bit of difference there. And I just want to recognize that fact because it's not exactly apples to apples because the Lions Club is doing that with their manpower. They put them up and take them down.
Okay.
And I think this will, so are you, is the motion to do it this year? Are they already made
I
or?
didn't really make a motion. Sorry, Jack.
Oh.
Okay, okay, I was wondering.
I
what
just
the
was
motion-
like trying to suggest
I
that
was
maybe we
trying
could
to
have that.
understand what the motion was.
It's okay.
Would you like to make the motion that's been seconded?
I'd be honored to move to approve flying Wannaboom flags on, this is good speech therapy for me, sorry. Move to approve flying Wannaboom flags on village light poles to alternate with the American flags that are flown for about 2 weeks prior to July 4th for the 2026 year.
All right, we've got a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
Did you second my motion?
I seconded it.
Well, now you second.
I just want to clarify. Are the signs already made or do you have to make them?
The flags,
The flags, yes.
they're being made.
They're being made.
They're going to be made, yes.
They're going to be made. Has the order gone in yet?
Pretty much, yeah, it's gonna.
Is the order in?
The order is now in.
Okay.
Depending on how we vote.
So,
We have like,
so,
oh.
so we did have another use for them if it wasn't
Yeah.
going to be on the polls. So.
There was some planning. There was some discussion. Yeah. A lengthy discussion at the committee about would this be more work or not more work
like-
and should we do it? They really debated before they.
This could be a whole new way to like, you know, we could have Todd's face when he retires and a bunch of flags and.
I was thinking more a drone show for that.
Good.
but
Attached.
That's not addressed in the flag policy.
It could be.
I get them
We
donated.
make the rules. It could be. All right, we're having too much fun. Let's call this to question. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. All right. Discuss and take action on the creation of a fire committee and fire commission, and this is probably more discussion than action, and that is to you, Todd.
Yeah, well, yeah,
Yeah.
and I want you and Nyla involved, and we've got
Yeah.
Robert Whitaker, our consultant here as well. But maybe the best way to handle this, Kristen,
Yeah.
so item number 4 on your agenda is to talk about an update to the discussions with the district thus far and the status of our discussions on intergovernmental agreement. We had an agenda mishap.
I made a mistake. It didn't get
I'm,
posted.
I'm willing to reduce that to mishap status. And it wasn't noticed for closed session, so.
Okay.
So maybe it'd be easier if we first talk on, like, to the extent that we can reasonably in open session, talk about where we're at things. I know there was a memo in your packet from Robert that talked about that, but maybe Kristen, you, Nyla, and Robert can tag team. In fact, can you promote, is he promoted yet? Robert Whitaker? Okay. The 3 of you can talk about where things stand, how the nature of the open discussions have gone so far, kind of to lay of the land for the rest of the board, and then we'll talk about those committee items, if that's
All
okay.
right. All right. Nyla, do you want to give the update of where it stands or should I?
Okay, we've been back and forth and all around, and I feel like it's time to move ahead. And we need to work toward having equal representation for what we pay in the budget. The reason this needs to be done is because of being fair to our taxpayers. It's been, and not only that, from the time I started working on the fire committee, I was hearing from the fire chief that something needed to be done, that they needed a full-time person there. And I would have been negligent if I wouldn't have started to act on it, because the concerns were having a full-time fire chief, because the workload was getting so heavy for the fire chief, and getting volunteers for members of the fire department. And I heard them, and like I said, I would have been negligent if I wouldn't have acted. So I feel that we need to move ahead with this. We cannot remain in limbo, because when we're in limbo, it leaves our firefighters not knowing what's ahead. And quite frankly, I wouldn't want to be in limbo. And they really want to know where we're headed, what our expectations are, and what their status is going to be. So we need to move on for many reasons. And so that's where I am.
All right, thank you. And I'll go through, if it's all right, a little bit of a timeline of how we got to the point. Almost 3 years ago now, we commissioned a study of the village commissioned a study of the fire district in order to understand long-term, where do we need to look? How do we need to plan? Because we are a village that continues to grow and our needs are changing and have changed in pretty dramatic ways as compared to the towns that we're partners with in the district. And so a lot of what we're going to need in the long term as a fire district isn't necessarily things that are going to benefit the town of Springfield, the town of Vienna, or the town of Westport, Village of West Point at some point, to the same degree that they'll benefit the Village of Waunakee. So we have, as a board, both now and over the past couple of years with our different compositions, talked about what does that mean for us as a village. And after a lot of consideration and discussion with the various partners that we've got in the fire district, we eventually decided that it was time for us to form our own fire department. And so on February 17th of 2025, a little over a year ago, we did adopt a resolution, a notice to withdraw from the Waunakee Area Fire District and the Waunakee Area Fire Protection Operating Agreement. We worked on that at both the fire committee level and at the village level. In September, we decided as a board to take a pause after the discussions with the towns to see if they would be interested in continuing the district. And the things that we needed were proportional representation. Within the district, we have 40% of the vote. We pay 70 to 72% of the cost of the fire department based on our equalized value, correct? Equalized value. And when we interpret and we read the state statutes, it appears to us that we need to have a fire commission to govern the fire board as well as a fire committee. So those are the two things. And we really weren't able to, even through a lot of discussion, settle on that. So back in December of 2025, we gave notice that we would be terminating the lease between the village and the fire department. The village owns the fire department building, the fire station. Even if we had not been in this situation, there's a number of improvements to the ventilation and whatnot, and some maintenance that needs to happen to the fire building itself. So we did make that lease termination notice. Nyla and I have been working with the fire district to kind of come to some terms on how we would remove that. And that's kind of where we are now, that we have resolved to remove ourselves from the fire district and form our own fire department. We, over the course of this, the district agreed to hire a consultant, Stan Riffle, that is a mediator. He worked well with all of the individual municipalities. However, on May 20th, he issued a letter to the fire district and the municipalities saying that he was unable to be successful in helping to coordinate a continuation of the fire district. So those things that we needed and the way that the towns wanted to operate just didn't really mesh up. And so that's the situation that we're in now. Everyone on the fire district is working towards like a speedy resolution to this. We do anticipate on December 1st or December 31st that we will be taking the next steps in this. One of the things that Nyla and I have been doing is talking pretty closely with the firefighters, their needs, their hopes and dreams for the fire department, the service that they have provided to us as a village and as a fire district over the years is first and foremost in our minds. And so as we're taking each one of these steps, I'm going to their trainings. I stop over whenever I see that they're still in session on Monday nights. They do a lot of training on Monday nights, and then they've got their monthly meeting and having active conversations, rotating amongst all the different individuals that are there, the different firefighters, and saying, you know, what is it that you need? Is there any questions you have? Is there any feedback you have for us as a village? Are there things that I should be thinking of? And so as we're going through this process, I'm making notes of those, and I'm coming back to both the village board, but also talking with Robert Whitaker, who is our consultant for this transition for the village, talking with Todd, talking with Brian about kind of the feedback that we're getting on how we can make this as smooth a transition as possible. And some of the things I'm hearing are really basic things like when we make the transition on, you know, presuming it's January 1st, are the lights going to be on the building? Is my pager going to work? Is my insurance still going to be here? Is my paycheck going to still be issued because they get paid for fire calls? All of those things we are working towards making really solid plans so that the transition for them is very smooth. Then we're asking other questions about the operations. What is it that you'd want to see changed in the way that you do things? What is it that we as a village can help? How can we help support you in what we're doing? And we're starting to hear some of that feedback too, that really focuses on hopes and dreams and how they want to serve. So the conversation we're having here tonight about a fire commission and a fire committee has been one of the questions that they've had. what does it look like when we become a department of the village? What structures are there to support us? And so that's, I realize this is going to be rather long-winded on my part, but that is what we're really here to discuss tonight, is really what are the difference between those two things and what does it mean if you're on the firefighting service or a member of the community? So I will put
So that you
myself
take a
on
breath,
mute.
Could we pass it to Robert to maybe talk about what are some of the steps that are underway as we make our way towards the end of the year here? What are some critical pieces of the puzzle that we've got to put in place? Robert?
Sure. Yeah, thank you. I think the one thing that we need to try to move along as quickly as possible is to get the evaluation of assets and the distribution of the liabilities worked out. The agreement with the municipalities says that withdrawal, which the village of Waunakee has noticed for December 31st to the end of the year, there's a distribution of assets compared to liabilities, and there's a ongoing process at the fire board level to look at how that is determined as far as what are the assets and then the liabilities, which are a little more obvious, but what is the value of the assets? And I think Stan is the mediator, or now he's been brought on by the board to help work through the dissolution or the withdrawal process. And I'm not sure where the future of the district goes after the village leaves. But in my mind, that's the most critical piece of the puzzle to move forward, is what assets does the village have at its hand to operate its own fire department? Because there is a minimum amount of stuff you need to operate your own fire department, and then there needs, if that's not what the village needs, what's that financial impact to the village, and how do you attain that? My guess is at 70-ish% of the assets, you will have a fairly sufficient equipment on hand, but we don't know what that equipment is until that process is resolved. So that, I would say, is an important piece that needs to get resolved. And I know I've talked to Stan about a week or two ago, and he's trying to move that conversation forward. I think there'll probably be some level of disagreement, is my guess, on where that lands, which could extend this process. As I think one of the partners one of the municipalities is looking to extend this further than probably others want it to go. So that's one piece. The other piece is, and there's some information in your packet about establishing either a police and fire commission or a fire commission. I think there is information about that. That is the body that appoints the chief, confirms subordinate appointments, things like that. And then there is a piece that requires an establishment of an ordinance that establishes the department. I believe that's called for in the resolution from February of 25 that's in the packet. So those are the pieces that are, I guess, the more administrative processes. And then finally, I think, like the president referred to, there's the piece of who comes over as employment changes because the employer is no longer the fire district, potentially. What does that transition look like? And what does that process look like? And what do those numbers look like, since you're working with a volunteer or a hourly paid group, not a salary paid group, where it's probably a living salary that someone's living their life off of. So there's a little more flexibility when it comes to those employees. So I think those are the most important pieces we have to deal with here in the next 6 months. It is achievable in 6 months. It's not going to be perfect on January 1 of 2027. There's a lot of moving parts that need to happen. But that process and the asset determination, I think, really needs to be prioritized as we move forward.
I'll just add that in the resolutions and our discussions with the other communities to date, we've recognized that there is room for us to, maybe not ideal, but there is room to maneuver our timing if that's in the best interest of all the parties involved, including the village of Waunakee. So that's part of what we're working through. And obviously, as every moment ticks by, you start to be like, let's not be not perfect. As Robert mentioned, could be possible earlier. Let's have a time frame that's going to allow us to achieve this perfectly. Now, with that said, there's some things that aren't within our exact ability related to timing, and that's where maybe Robert and Brian and maybe Kristen and Nyla can help out too. And I'd like to touch on that. And this isn't at all about throwing any of the communities under the bus. It's more just a matter of logistics. We gave our notice related to the IGA for the department of 18 months. That is the stipulated time required for any given community to withdraw. Now, none of the other three participating communities have given a notice at any point since we have. So the question of when do they, either as any given individual community or as a group of communities, withdraw is something to be considered. And I think that's part of what also Stan, and help me out here, Robert, Stan may be helping us kind of negotiate or traverse with the other communities to figure out these steps and how they might best fit together. Options could be a unanimous mutual decision on a part of all four parties to terminate the district at some given moment. Maybe it's after the first of the year, but it's something we agree on mutually less than 18 months from now. The other situation, and this is where maybe I'll rely on you guys to help me out here, might be a situation where a couple of the other towns put forward their 18-month notice, and then that starts the countdown to a sort of a different dissolution process. Can one of you touch, maybe Robert, can you talk about how that would work?
How I read the agreement would be once there's one standing municipality left, the district dissolves. Generally, it's forced to dissolve. The challenge there is you have to get an 18-month notice from any other municipality to get down to one. So your best case scenario for that to happen is 18 months from, let's say, July 1st. So you're a year and a half plus away from that happening.
The only alternate to that is if, again, all four parties come to an agreement on some other date. I hope we can have that constructive discussion amongst all the parties still, and hopefully Stan and Robert collectively, we can find the best outcome to best serve all the communities. So with that in mind, are there any questions about those timing pieces?
I guess, is this a discussion at the committee level as to when this is going to be resolved, and is it on the agenda?
Yeah.
Has there been discussions there?
Yeah, so it's on the agenda over at the fire committee. There have been discussions about whether or not the village is withdrawing, but those discussions of whether or not the other municipalities would remain if they're occurring at all, would be occurring at their individual meetings, as they've not been brought forward to the fire committee. We are aware, however, that two of the municipalities have spoken with another fire department about taking over service, to the extent that is because they wish to withdraw, or they are understanding that as we leave the district, things may change for their situation. Our intent is that we would like to continue to serve the municipalities, the areas that we are currently serving now. And it'll be their choice whether or not we do that. We would like to hold their costs steady so that it's appealing to them to remain with us. I think that's also the wish of the firefighters, but I do not want to speak on behalf of the firefighters with regards to anything. So, yeah.
I guess my concern, and I think we're talking about it tonight, is, what are the assets and what is this going to cost as we go this alone? And I applaud the decision to move forward to value these assets and, start looking at what the impact is going to be, on our budget. It could be up or down. But I think before we you know, as we make decisions, we need to understand what that is.
Yeah. All right. All right, Aaron, did you have any? Yeah, I think that ends where I kind of keep coming back to just getting an idea of the assets, and you know, we know how much we're represented and we know how much we're paying, but just getting a better idea, especially for those of us not, you know, as involved in the firefighting side of things, to just make sure we're able to provide that same level of service as quickly as possible to kind of get those. So whatever we need to do, I think we should continue to move forward and make sure we're prepared to keep everyone safe. All right. Thank you, Aaron. Chris?
Yeah, from a financial standpoint, it makes sense for us to get the assets assessed so we know what that is. And I'd leave my other comments for when we're in closed session.
All right. All right, Sam?
I would agree. I will leave most of my comments for closed session, but I want to thank both of you for your leadership on that committee. I've attended most of the meetings over a year, and they're not easy. So thank you.
Teresa?
Yeah, assets and manpower.
Yeah.
That's my big concern, more than assets. But we can talk about that closed session.
Excellent.
Well, I mean, we have to,
Mhm.
what we can discuss in closed session is extremely limited. It
Yeah.
essentially, I mean, at the end of the day, the village is given notice and it's going to withdraw. And I think the only thing that needs to require for the withdrawal is the determination of the assets. We obviously can't control what the other towns are going to do,
Mhm.
but I see no reason why assets can't be determined within 4 months.
Mhm.
And even if people are disagreeing, and then it's like, you guys want 30%, we're taking 70, we're starting our department on January 1st. Because listening to all these discussions, it seems like the village board members at the committee oftentimes have sought to have discussions on certain items, and for whatever reason, the fire district committee or board has chosen not to do that. So I don't think that you can rely
Mhm.
on the ball moving forward at the committee level.
Yeah. I would agree. All right. Nyla?
I want to say the devil's in the details. I mean, as with anything, getting down to the nitty gritty, and hopefully the other municipalities at some point will sit down and work with us and tell us what they need and what direction they want to go so we can move ahead. Thanks.
And I think Brian's point is good. What is not resolved at the committee is resolved here in the boardroom. And again, our goal, our intent is two things: village and the municipalities that we serve are safe. And second, that the firefighters' needs and hopes are put forefront. Yeah.
And the village board has been consistent in sharing its desire to maintain, support, and honor a volunteer firefighting force as part of the department operation going forward. So that's been super consistent. So maybe now we can transition to sort of the logistical piece of our discussion tonight, which is
Yeah.
number 2 on your agenda.
Yes.
The administrative office here has done some research on police and fire commissions structurally that I can share with you here tonight verbally. And certainly Robert and Brian can chime in. I've asked Brian to do a bit of research on the legal end in terms of what statutes does or doesn't require a community to do that's creating a fire commission. So one, obviously we already have a police commission as required by law that manages, for simplicity's sake, hiring, firing, and discipline of members of our police department. The same is true for the functions and operations of a fire commission per statutes, unless they're granted optional powers, which is kind of a nuance in the statutes. Very few communities do that. But anyway, generally speaking, a fire commission handles the same thing a police commission does: hiring, firing, discipline of members of the department. On an operational side, like how do we establish policies, guidance for approaches to solving problems related to firefighting, could be very reasonably the function of a fire committee, similar to the way in which we use a police committee. So let me share with you some structural options that you have. When you look at any of the communities in Dane County, I think I'm confident in saying that Fitchburg, Madison, McFarland, Monona, Stoughton, Sun Prairie, and Verona all have a police and fire commission, a joint body that does hiring, firing, discipline for public safety employees within those communities. The other communities that I didn't reference are all part of a district, so they're operating in a different realm. So it is, though, and Brian's research confirmed this, not statutorily required to have a joint body as police and fire commission. Although I would say that is definitely not the norm to have two separate standing commissions. I see Robert nodding his head. I know, generally speaking, in pursuing representation on groups like that, you're looking for people with unique skills in the matters of law, human resources, the unique elements of the human condition, dealing with people. So those are unique skills that you typically try to strive for on those bodies with those responsibilities in mind. At a staff level, I know, speaking with Brian, we don't see any reason why we wouldn't be recommending to you a joint commission. There's also the logistics of two commissions, two agendas, more appointments, and on and on.
More room for error.
More. Stop it. I wasn't going to bring that up. All right, so that's the commission discussion open for, we're interested in your feedback on that so we can start to take the steps.
I have a question. You were seeing the assets, the characteristics that fire commissioner or police commissioner has. Is it necessary that any of them have a background in fire or police? I mean, you would think that some knowledge of what these firefighters or policemen are dealing with would be somewhat of a qualification.
There is no requirement. Well, I'll let Brian or Robert correct me on if the state law has. I do know that commissions are established to separate political motives and activity from the practices of managing staff of those departments. So there can be no members of the village board on a commission. What else, Robert or Brian, can you tell us about what the state statutes say?
I believe for a village, you're not required to have anyone with prior fire or police experience. I'm looking now, but I think for a first-class city in Wisconsin, you have to have at least 2 appointees with some background, but I need to confirm that for cities. But you wouldn't fall under that qualification anyway as a village.
Yeah, and I think that only applies to Milwaukee.
Right. Yeah.
Because they're the only first-class city in the state.
Right.
So
Right.
Madison, Fitchburg, any other city would not. Doesn't mean you can't have somebody who has that experience on the commission, but it's not mandated.
Yeah.
I just think it would make sense to have somebody who's actually worked. I'm not saying necessarily the Waunakee Fire Department, but a fireman or a policeman who know what it's like to be, on the job.
Yeah, that could be a good component. The one thing you would probably want to avoid is if you had a majority of a commission with people who, and it's not to say that it would be a bias, but with a preference towards a particular profession, you wonder whether then that is a good balance perspective then on a matter related to discipline or termination. That certainly gets tricky, but to have some of that perspective as expertise on the commission, I think could be helpful. I will say, based on the makeup of our current police commission, assuming those commissioners are interested in serving on a body, if it was modified to a joint body, one of them is a former fire chief, in fact. So, and I'm not sure, I guess that's for a later day, but whether we can just simply modify the commission to become joint, do we essentially have to take the current police commission, dissolve it, and recreate it with new appointments? Is something that I don't know the answer to that. We'll have to research.
All right. Jack?
Well, I think, You know, that's great that one of the members of the police commission was a former fire chief, but I think when you look at what they're doing, you know, they're basically disciplining, hiring the fire chief. And those are the two.
Termination.
And termination. You know, the last two are pretty much, you know, HR issues, you know, basically. Hiring the fire chief, you're probably going to, you know, have a consultant to help you through, you know, something like that. You know, so you know, if we have a joint commission, I don't see that as a problem.
Other questions or comments, Sam?
No, I don't have any questions on this part. Makes sense.
Teresa?
I know we're talking about the other towns, but internally, is everything resolved internally? Our fire department?
I'd let them answer that question.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah. So, yeah, Erin, good question. Yeah.
No, I don't really have any other questions right now, but.
Right. Chris?
I tend to agree with Jack. A joint would be just fine.
Yeah.
But I think we can determine that. I don't think we need to determine that tonight, do we?
We're looking for that guidance so we can start to think through our steps and the timing related to modifying our ordinances to create the proper bodies for their next decisions.
Yeah. I will say that while we have a lot of people that step forward to volunteer on committees in the village, to staff two equally talented committees or commissions that will be doing the same thing, might be a challenge. The commission that we have now works really well. I think they've made good decisions when they've been called on to make decisions. I would be comfortable with keeping this commission intact and adding fire to that. I don't know if anyone else has any other opinions or
I have a
thoughts.
question.
Yeah.
How many are on the existing commission and how many would you want to add to the commission?
I think statute specifies.
Statute's 5.
It's 5.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know I mean, that's police and fire departments under this 6213. I'm not sure what the current police commission is. It's 5. Okay, so then it would just be the same number.
We do have 5 with one alternate if that's needed to establish quorum.
So are you saying it would remain 5 and then, so would the commissioners remain the same or would we?
I
Well,
think-
no.
I was gonna say, it would remain 5 unless there's a reason to change. I don't see any reason. I would strongly recommend having a joint police and fire commission.
Yeah,
And
I'm just trying to figure out exactly, if you're going to have the same 5 that are currently it, or you're going to rearrange and bring in some new people if you can. I'm just trying to figure this out.
And first of all, if in fact the notion of a joint commission is the direction you give us, that's going to send Brian and staff on the task of investigating the steps to accomplish that.
Okay.
So we're just not prepared to give you those
Okay.
specific details today. I will also say that members of the police committee may rather not be a member of a joint committee, maybe for whatever.
well, you're talking about two different.
Sorry, I'm still on commission. We're not committee yet, commission.
Yeah.
They may not want to be on a joint department for
whatever
joint
reasons.
commission for whatever reason. And I think that's a choice that we would responsibly and reasonably want to give those members. So we'll, maybe there would be possibly a vacancy or more depending on what they might care to do.
Good question.
And we do have one, is it one each year that comes up? It's a 5-year term. Is that right? I think it's a 5-year term.
That's what
one
it
a year.
says, yes.
One a year comes up for
Mhm.
appointment.
Yeah.
No, I'd be in favor of a joint. I would agree that we have an excellent group on the current police commission, and if they all would like to continue, I would have no objection to that.
I'm hearing consensus on the notion of commission being joint.
I think one of the things, and you guys will do your investigation of whether we can just roll them over or what the parameters are there. Regardless of what that looks like, one of the things we might want to do is do a meet and greet with the commission and the firefighters as we get closer. so that they can, because I know this is, the idea of representation and governance is something that I know I would be very concerned with, and I hear those concerns come through some of their questions. So maybe we can facilitate that so that they feel
Yep, I think that's a great
comfortable and
idea.
give us some feedback. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, let's transition to the notion of a committee.
Yeah.
Again, we have a police committee. And here I'll turn to Robert, who's seen many fire departments throughout our state. My experience that I've seen in communities I've worked in where we've had both a municipal fire and a municipal police department is we have more a general public safety committee that has managed the operational questions and policy development at a committee level related to all protective service within the community. That's been my experience. It doesn't have to be ours going forward. I guess I'd ask Robert, what have you seen on that end of things in your journey?
I've only seen public safety committee. I've not seen separate police and fire in a municipal environment like this would be.
That is not going to force your hand if you feel like it is important. And maybe, I was thinking about this the other day, maybe for us, as we get off the ground, an ad hoc committee specifically working with the village on the creation of policies and procedures related to a brand new department might be a good way to kick things off for us. And then we can gain experience from residents who have that very unique interest and experience. That's an option. And then either that can turn into a standing fire only committee function, or that gives us time to be thoughtful about whether we just simply create a public safety committee. So that's another approach we could take. And if it is something you want to do, I think we're at a point, we're really close to the moment at which we could start putting that type of body together to help us along.
So we could do that quickly, like
Mhm.
within the next month or so. Yeah. Great. All right. Thoughts?
I like
Brian?
the idea. of
Yeah.
an-
Oh, I
of-
think Brian's
well,
got some
you can
advice.
go
Well,
ahead
the only,
first.
I just wanted to piggyback up that I've only really seen the public safety committee, and I think one of the reasons for that is obviously the operations of a police department and fire department are a little bit different. But when you start looking at things from a 10,000 foot level and you're coming up with public safety policies, there is overlap. And one of the benefits of having one committee versus two is you would want to avoid a situation where you potentially have inconsistencies between what one committee is doing versus another committee. And I think that's why for the most part, I've only seen public safety committees. And that sounds like that's consistent with Robert and Todd.
Okay. All right. So Sam.
Yeah, I like the concept of an ad hoc because obviously with the commission, we are throwing a lot of bureaucracy at once. And if we can take a more phased approach with that, I would love to, transition at some point into a public safety committee. But I think, and again, I'm not speaking for the firefighters, but I think that they would feel better about with an ad hoc transition that's more gradual, people with specific specialty in that area, perhaps former members of the department, et cetera.
All right. Other thoughts, Jack?
I would be more in favor of just going to the Public Safety Committee because that's the direction that we're going to go. And, I'm not sure, there's probably policies and procedures already set up in the the fire district. And I think what you would do is you'd bring those over into the public safety and then review those to say, does it meet our current objectives or the vision that we have as a fire department or public safety? And I agree with Brian. If there are overlaps, you want to minimize those bumps in the road and understanding what's going on both the public, police and fire would be beneficial.
Other thoughts? Nyla? Yeah.
I think a public safety committee is the way to go, but working through an ad hoc committee would be beneficial. Anytime you can get public comment and input and a group of residents working together or businessmen, it gives them the knowledge that we care what they think. And I think that's important.
Yeah. Other thoughts?
I think Public Safety Committee and Joint Commission.
At the outset?
Yeah.
Right at the outset?
Chris?
I'm trying to say this and make sure that I'm taking into account what the fire guys for the last 75, I don't know how many years it is, have been doing and making sure that they're included with how this goes. Cause I think we're establishing something right now that there's nobody in the room. And that makes me uneasy, I guess, is what I'm getting at. Since they're volunteers that have been doing this, they put their lives on the line, they do all the training, they do all the work. And then you see that and we're making a policy decision that they're not even really, they're not here. So I'm challenged with that.
Yeah.
The commission, I'm better with putting those two together, this committee. I think that we could get some input from them before we made a decision definitively.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think, you know, from the philosophy of no decisions about us without us alone. And also, you know, they have for 75 years, for more than that, when we consider the previous 125, yeah, when it was just the Waunakee Fire Department originally. They have had a committee that has shepherded and represented their interests. And so I would, if we transition to a public safety committee, I would want their full input on how and when that happens. And I think even if we're operating two committees, the idea of maybe minimizing overlap between the two committees might be a more comfortable space for them to operating. And again, I don't want to speak on their behalf than us coming in and saying, we're going to ad hoc and then transition you to this committee that you're just getting to know. I think that from a, you know, their experience really needs to kind of maybe lead how quickly we move on some of these things. I would love to hear their voices too and their opinion on this before we make a decision. So maybe at one of our upcoming meetings, we can invite some of the representatives here to just have kind of a discussion of you know, questions that they have and kind of, you know, maybe put it to them. What is your desires for how this transition is done effectively? Yeah.
One of the, you know, aspects of having an ad hoc committee is then you could have members of the fire department be part of that committee.
We could, yeah. I think we'll have to talk about what that looks like. Yeah.
You know, I think when you sit down and say, okay, we're going to go to the Public Safety Committee, you know, I don't think we're going to sit down and say, okay, we're going to rewrite the department policies and so forth. We're taking the current policies that they're working with and bringing them in. They can still, you know, I don't think the committee would work in a vacuum. I think the committee would welcome, you know, the input and so forth from the fire department. So, you know, we're a fire department now, or we're a fire committee now, or whatever we're calling it, district, and we're not going to change overnight. So, you know, I think you're still going to get the input and feedback that you want.
I don't question any of that. I do want them to weigh in on this. And I think that the difference, it's been a rough few years for them. A lot of them come to our meetings. They see the arguments going on in between the municipalities. They just want some, you know, kind of certainty going forward. They talk about how that, even though it's not directed at them or their performance, but the disagreements between the municipalities have taken their toll. And so I would be afraid to come in there and say, we're going to change this and house you in an existing committee with the village. I think I might feel, if I was in that position, that I was told by the village that we're going to listen to you, we're going to have you help us lead this decision. And then we didn't listen to them and we didn't let them lead the decision. So that may eventually be where we end up, but I really do want for us, at least in the short term, to talk with them about kind of how they see this and what kind of representation do they want. It's going to be a tough transition, I think, for them if we don't manage it correctly. Yeah. So.
And I think another concern that sort of what Nyla had mentioned earlier with I look at our police committee, I think almost all of us have served on the police committee at some point during our board tenures. We have residents on there with police experience. At least to my understanding of our citizen members, we don't have anybody that has served on a fire department. And I think that's something that if we were to go the public safety committee route, that's something that they would really want to see.
Yeah. Yeah. So.
Well, I think as you make your appointments, you're gonna put somebody on. You're gonna look for that blend of talent as you go forward. So I think public safety makes sense. And if we're gonna have a ad hoc, then basically, it's going to be a time period and then it's going to transition into, and I think that has to be well laid out so that there is no expectation that we're going to deviate and do something else.
I would really want their feedback on that. This is one of the unique features of this transition is that we're not taking over an organization that has employees. It has one employee. And if we don't do this well, and it isn't something that they agree with, then we have one employee and we don't have a firefighting force. So I think it's however we think it'll be managed, their voice really does need to be heard. And we really need to make sure that they're comfortable with the structure and it's something that they agree with. Yeah. We can't force them to show up if they get a call. Yeah.
That's my issue because they can't have that much power. I mean, our public safety is for our citizens.
Yeah.
And if the firemen are not willing to be here at all times for citizens, then they shouldn't be on the fire department.
Oh,
They're
wow.
volunteers.
They are volunteers. Yeah. They do have the opportunity, but I don't.
I mean, we're not, they have
Yeah.
input. What I'm saying is,
Yeah.
that's my big scare is that if we're not going to comply to every single need, that one day there's going to be a walkout. That's my fear.
Okay. So from that fear, I think that's everybody's fear, right?
Yeah.
That they'll walk, right? How we manage that then, I don't think is to say if you don't show up, you're done. I think it's got to be, we understand that you're a volunteer firefighting force. They do put their lives on the line. They've been doing this for 125 years. You help us integrate your firefighting force into a department. You tell us what you need. And within this structure that we have within the village, here are the supports that we can offer. We aren't, I don't think we're prepared to hire a full-time firefighter force if they would walk. So we really do need to be very, I think, careful about how we talk about it and how we're crafting this. Because if we come in and say, this is the way it's gonna be, and they're like, one of them, 2 weeks ago was like, this is my hobby. Like if this stops being, rewarding, if it becomes more stressful than fighting a fire or showing up on an accident is, I'm just going to be done. I think we have to be really, really conscious of that. Yeah, Nyla.
Things have gradually changed because the membership of the fire department has seen where things need to be changed. It used to be 7 days a week, whenever there was a call, anyone who could respond would respond. And basically some people were on call 7 days a week, 24 hours a day. But because out of need, they have seen where they need to schedule weekends and do some shifts, which they had not done before. I think the fire department is willing to do what they need to do. And they're a very skilled force and they are volunteers. And I think they will work together to do things to get the job done. And I don't think we should go in and say, you have to do this. But if we lay out what the needs are and say, we need solutions, will you work with us? Please help us help you.
Yeah.
I
think they want to serve the community. I think they want to feel good about the job they do.
They
They
like
want to
what
be
they do.
supported
It's,
by us. Yeah.
You know, it's very supportive. But I think, you know, I don't see any committee, or maybe there are committees that are dictating, you know, what Bill is doing or what any of the departments are doing. You know, they're basically providing feedback and looking for guidance, you know, from, so,
Well,
so I think,
I mean, let's unpack that, right? So there is
but
a
I
committee that,
guess one of the
yeah.
things I'd like to do is, we're paying this guy to be here.
Mhm.
You know, what is your opinion on something like this?
So Robert?
Robert,
Yeah.
I hate to put you on the spot, but you know, what are your thoughts and opinions?
Yeah, I think you are, as a group, hitting it on the head that you have a workforce that can decide what they want to do. Now, employees who get a salary can decide what they want to do, but the impact of not staying employed is much different than someone who's making a small hourly wage, which is what they make. So you need to work with them, and I think that that's possible. There are some boundaries that need to be maintained for state statute purposes and other things that are not negotiable. But I think that won't be a large hurdle, and there's ways to transition to you know, over a period of time. And that time always makes it a little easier to have a transition plan, and you know what this is coming in a couple years. We're gonna do something. It's all possible, but it's important to keep their feedback and to have a general idea of what that workforce is going to look like as soon as possible, because you're not in a position where on December 25th you can find out that you don't have anybody. That's in my view right now, that's the toughest position to be in. When you work in a department that is fully paid employed,
Mhm.
I know who's, you know, give me 2 weeks notice. I know who's coming and who's not. Um, and there's a carrot out there to hire other people because it's a job. Whereas this is, you sort of have to live in this area. You have to be willing to do it for a low level of compensation, more satisfaction of being a part of the community and serving your community. We definitely will have a fine line of how do you include their thought while still maintaining an operation that is compliant and under the auspices of the Police and Fire Commission and the village board too. It's going to be a lot of touching, it's for lack of better words, touch versus an employment relationship with here, you know, here's your contract, take it or leave it kind of thing.
It's a high touch relationship.
Yeah,
They
that's what I was
they get a
thinking.
nominal amount of money for showing up at 2 a.m. to go help us on what for many of the people they encounter is the worst day of their life. And there isn't an alternative to that. You know, there isn't a substitute. There isn't a, you know, it's our way or the highway. This is very much a relationship and a partnership, and we have to really respect and listen to their experiences when we're going forward with this. So, all right, let's leave it down to one more question, two more questions, Aaron and Chris, and then we've had a good discussion tonight. Looking at the time, we'll have undoubtedly something at the next time we meet that we'll be discussing in terms of kind of forwarding this organizationally, but then also likely a closed session discussion as well. So Aaron?
Yeah, I've been kind of quiet and just thinking, learning. I kind of get stuck though, like the further away we are from actually like departing or withdrawing, right? Or the termination, the quicker we involve a new group of people, I think there's a bigger possibility to slow us down in the sense of like, you know, this is such a important transition. So just thinking like, studying team and group communication. It's like if we have a brand new group, things kind of do take a while to get rolling. And while there's definitely plenty of things, I'm thinking of like joining the library board right after the new building was being built. It's like there was so much logistic stuff to be doing right away in that first like 2 years. That like a group can figure it out and smooth it out. And that is probably going to be the case. There's just a lot of things to need through. And I don't know. So I struggle like, having either we get something going that could just be advisory in the meantime and like ad hoc to get us there. So we as this board can keep other viewpoints involved, but not, I guess, distancing ourselves too much, not because we or I need that, control or part of that role, but I just think like to really be supporting the people that are showing up at 2 a.m. and just like reaffirming our commitment to them that, and we can have special meetings, we can, figure it out until we really feel ready that we're making the right choice. So I guess I would just want to keep looking at what the options would be like and then like doing research on can we statutorily do this? And then I just keep getting stuck in this sidebar of this conversation in my head. Like, we don't really know if there will be other municipalities involved or what that relationship will look like with our neighbors going forward. So, some of our committees or, do they have representation? How are we involving those citizens as well? Because these are safety concerns. I was reading like the other charges of the boards and commissions, and I feel like the public safety could really wrap up what's happening already. So I'm sorry, I'm all over the place right now, but I think that could be a good option. I'm just not sold. But.
Chris?
So I just want to be clear on a couple things. One, firefighters have a different DNA than any of us sitting here right now. We've never been firefighters, but their DNA is very different about how they approach. They're not going to not show up for a call. That's just not who they are. They're doing something that they set out to do. Maybe it's a hobby, maybe it's, as a professional firefighter. Could be a stepping stone being a volunteer into professional firefighter. You never know those things, but they join for a reason and they form, for lack of a better term, a brotherhood with one another to make sure that they're going to be there. And for my comment before about what we were going to do with this really falls around this and why I wanted to include the firefighters in our discussions. We have a group of firefighters in our village that served for many, many years. That's hurting right now almost as much as probably the current existing firefighters. And what they built, and I look at it like Jenga, they built this beautiful structure that's been operating for many, many years very well. And all of a sudden some pieces started to get pulled apart and starting to wobble a little bit. And I look at it as our job to make sure that that doesn't fall, that we pick it up and help them. But not having them part of it, we need to make sure we do include that. I just don't believe when I hear that they're not going to show up, that's never going to happen. I mean, the guys that aren't there right now, if they're physically able, would come in if they needed to and do whatever they could to help. So I think we're on the right track with the commission. I think we need to just pause a little bit with this committee, but not too long, on how we're going to go about it. Whether it's ad hoc or whether it's going right to Public Safety Commission, we need to make a decision on it quickly, but I think we need to get their input. And as I said, it's not just the current firefighters. I think we should include in, and maybe it's Nyla and Kristen that meets with those folks, sets up some time with them to get their thoughts, because it's important, because they built something and we don't want to let it fall.
Are we discussing commission and public safety committee? Or
They're two different things.
that's what I thought, but I misunderstood. I just wanted to clarify that because I wasn't following you very well. Okay, thank you.
All right.
And I want to make it clear that I'm not talking, like, communication needs to be consistent, not just for an ad hoc committee. It needs to be consistent all throughout, because we have a time limit. If we're talking about January 1st, it's 6 months. We don't have time to start another committee and we need to keep consistent communication. And I think that we do need to involve them, and we have to have a relationship. Communication is important. I don't want them to be pissed off at us and, and on any terms that we're going to be doing. They do need to be involved, but we do have to have boundaries too. There has to be a fire commission or joint commission. There has to be rules and regulations, whether it's volunteer or full-time.
All right, thank you. All right, so I think we've come to the conclusion of this conversation. Do we have?
There's no recommendation for.
Nope.
No recommendation for action. And I remember for us at this table here, our objective is to focus on those, like I started out, logistical pieces, structural pieces, things that might take some time for us to arrange and research, so then you are able to act and create. So in a lot of ways, this has been really good feedback. I think it's been thoughtful conversation. Kristen will follow up with one another. I can tell I'm putting some things in order that I know that we can start to move on and be ready for you to talk more about at your next meeting.
All right, thank you. With that, we have nothing else left on the agenda.
Brian, can I make one comment still about one of them? Or am I past my time that I can do that?
We're going
I
to
don't
run
wanna-
off agenda.
So I just wanted to point out, because the committee members that have been doing this for 10 years, it is our 10th year, and to appreciate what this is, there's American Pyrotechnics Association, there's 16,000 displays in the country, and we're one of 17 that got this recognition. So that is just a really cool thing for those folks that have put their time in, and that includes all of our public works folks and our fire and our police and our EMS, all of the folks that have been involved in this to make it what it is. So I just want to say to the committee and all those people that have worked so hard to get this done, it's not just our committee, our bodies, but it's a lot of people that have made this happen. So is that okay that I said that?
100%.
All right, yeah, all right. With that, one more motion.
I move to adjourn.
Second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.